Marvin Methodist Church in Tyler opened its sanctuary doors today after months of construction. KLTV's Michael Richardson spoke with the lead pastor at the church as well as the architect to discuss how it felt to be back in their sanctuary.
To recapture the original spirit of this church and to do it aesthetically beautiful is fantastic.
After 5 months of construction, the sanctuary at Marvin Methodist Church is welcoming churchgoers once again. Some of the renovations to the 19th century original design include an expanded choir area, new carpeting, and refurbished pews.
Even though it was 5 months of construction, it's really been a couple of years of planning efforts to put it all together.
Church architect Jason Jennings is relieved to have the dust settled on construction.
To have it polished back up and hear the choir and hear congregation, hear preaching back in here again, it makes me feel really good.
Lead pastor Dr. Doug Baker echoes a similar sentiment.
It's just a glorious day for us. Things have changed a little bit. Worship spaces have gotten very simple, and that has a purpose, and I understand that, but I think that having a beautiful place that draws people, their eyes upwards because of the high vaulted ceilings, the beautiful stained glass windows letting in natural sunlight, telling a story because there's a story in the windows as well, is very meaningful. There's a lot of meaning in this room.
Marvin Methodist also hosted a luncheon to commemorate the renovations. The church hopes the updates will allow the community to appreciate the space of worship for years to come. Michael Richardson, East Texas News.
Marvin Methodist also plans to update the organ inside the sanctuary. That is scheduled to be completed in early 2026.